Students across our state are heading back to school, and although it's an exciting time, it can also be a really stressful time for kids of all ages.
Yeah, students who identify as LGBTQ could have a particularly hard time dealing with back-to-school stress. But this afternoon, we have Dr. Janis Sethness from UCHealth to talk about the type of support that you might be able to offer to an LGBTQ student. So, as a parent, where does that begin? Because I imagine it has to begin with some sort of awareness.
Absolutely. Awareness is important, and certainly if your child has come out to you and identifies as LGBTQ, then the first step is to just offer support, period, not a particular type. We know from previous research studies that LGBTQ children have higher rates of depression and mood disorders. They have high rates of substance abuse, alcohol abuse, and higher rates of suicidal ideation and suicide attempts. And research has also shown that parents who provide advocacy for their children and support for their LGBT children lower those rates, so provide greater self-esteem and greater health overall for LGBT kids.
So as a parent, so your child, maybe your child comes out in the summer months, then should you be the one that talks to the school right away, goes in, talks to school administrators, teachers, and just say, hey, listen, I want to let you know this?
I think you really have to leave that up to your kid and see how comfortable they are with that situation. A lot of children are comfortable being out at home and not at school, and sometimes vice versa. And so you can find out things about your school that might be helpful for your child. For example, does your school have LGBTQ organizations or clubs? So GSA, which stands for Gay Straight Alliances, are in a lot of high schools these days, and they have shown to be a really positive impact for kids in schools. So just kids have a happier experience in school when those clubs exist, and have more peer support when those clubs exist.
As a parent, it's tough sometimes to extract from your kids just how your day was. You get the short fine.
Yeah.
What'd you do? Nothing. You know, and they get the one word. But I would think that if your child is struggling with this, if that is feeling very heavy upon them, you really have to be maybe a little more proactive at trying to extract a little bit of how does it feel to be at school.
And sometimes it can be just as much as keeping those lines of communication open and making sure that even if you're getting a single word response every single day, that you're still asking the question. And then other times it can be reaching out to people who might have a little bit more experience in opening up those lines of communication. So school counselors are a great resource, and a lot of them are trained to provide advocacy for LGBTQ students and promote safe and inclusive environments in the school. And your pediatrician is also a great resource for that. So if your child's not necessarily comfortable talking to you, bringing them into the pediatrician, having them talk one-on-one with the pediatrician is a great step. And then pediatricians can also provide referrals to family and individual counseling if that's necessary.
Go to the doctor. So what if you're the parent of a child that comes home and says, hey, my friend came out? What do you tell your child?
I don't know that there's anything you necessarily need to do.
Just say, I'm glad you told me, and this is still your friend.
This is still your friend, and what can we do to try to help? And so again, advocating for more inclusive schools is really important. Yeah. There's a great network out there called GLSEN, which stands for Gay, Lesbian, and Straight Education Network, that can promote, that can provide professional development for teachers and ensure that classrooms are more inclusive and provide curriculum that shows positive LGBTQ figures.
Social media can be a toxic place for all kids. Is it more so maybe? Is it a higher risk environment in some ways? You recommended some places where you can learn quite a bit, but also for students, we know that social media can be a very difficult place to navigate.
It can be. So certainly students who don't feel comfortable in their school environment being open about their sexual orientation or gender identity can find really inclusive places online. And so it can be a positive experience for a lot of kids. But there's obviously a lot of content out there, including dating apps, what may not be appropriate for teens. And so you really need to monitor what your child's doing online. And remember that cyberbullying also happens and can impact LGBT youth more than youth who identify as heterosexual. And so, again, just making sure you know what your kid's doing online, talking to them about safe and appropriate social media is really important.
Yeah, for all kids. All right, Dr. Janis Sethness from UCHealth, thanks for visiting with us today.
Thank you for having me.
Good to see you.
Topics.